Welcome back to Weekly Briefing. We are here with our panel of experts. Joining me in studio, Jim Robbins, columnist at USA Today, Chris Farrell, Director of Investigations at Judicial Watch and author of Exiled Emissary George Earl III, Shay Bradley Farrell, President of Counterpoint Institute for Policy, Research, and Education, and Donna Jackson, Accountant and Director of Member Development for Project 21. The much-anticipated trial of Jeffrey Epstein's madam, Ghislaine Maxwell, launched this week. Maxwell is accused of trafficking underage girls for sex.
Opening statements in this trial that is expected to last 6 weeks, and we are going to hear from those 4 now grown women. They will take the stand and testify against her. If convicted on all counts, Maxwell faces a maximum sentence of 70 years in prison. That's effectively, Dan, a life sentence for her.
So, Chris, in the Kyle Rittenhouse case that we just finished watching, justice was an acquittal. What does justice look like in the Maxwell case?
It looks like 70 years for Ms. Maxwell. That's what real justice looks like. Epstein seems to have gotten his own justice along the way. A very mysterious death that's never been adequately explained, and really no accountability for what actually happened to him in his jail cell. But Maxwell was preying on young women, and in a particularly gruesome way. And there's no way to explain this away or talk about it in a way that says, oh, well, it isn't that bad. It was that bad.
And why do you think that she hasn't had the same fate as Jeffrey Epstein? I know there's concerns. Was it suicide? Was it something more mysterious?
More nefarious.
Yeah.
I don't have a good answer for that. I'm not sure what conditions she's being held under. Of course, if she too were to have a mysterious accident, that would raise the incredulity, to a level unimaginable. So I think that it also sends a message to her, because she's going to probably end up in a federal penitentiary somewhere.
Right.
And something could happen there too. Who knows?
Very interesting. Dr. Jay, I know you've been involved in countering human trafficking. What do you make of this case, and what does it mean for our country, where we're at?
Well, I'm concerned that many of those that are involved in this are not taking human trafficking as seriously as they should. It's something like 80% of all women, of all those human trafficked around the world, are actually women. And it also makes me wonder, I think this is something Chris will talk about later, is why Bill Clinton was on an airplane to India with her. I'm not saying that they were involved with human trafficking. I wouldn't say that, but it makes me concerned.
There's a lot of unanswered questions. Do you remember this tweet from Joe Biden? He calls President Trump xenophobic for his actions surrounding the coronavirus. This is actually one of multiple tweets where he calls Trump xenophobic. Here's the speech where he calls Trump's actions xenophobic.
But neither should we panic or fall back on xenophobia. Labeling COVID-19 a foreign virus does not displace accountability for the misjudgments that have been taken thus far by the Trump administration. Banning all travel from Europe or any other part of the world may slow it, but as we've seen, it will not stop it. And travel restrictions based on favoritism and politics rather than risk will be counterproductive.
Yet, independent fact checkers have determined that Biden did not call Trump xenophobic and labeled this story as mostly false, despite the multiple tweets where it's happening. Mm-hmm. Dr. Shea, unpack this for me.
Well, anybody can call themselves a fact checker, right? PolitiFact and other outlets like Snopes are really just political operatives masquerading as real researchers. So when I see stuff like that, I think, whatever. But what I find really rich about this is that Biden just banned people from traveling from African countries where in some of these countries, they've not even seen the Omicron variant yet, but they can't come to our country. But you know what? The left's push when Trump actually banned people coming from terrorist-related countries, happened to be Muslim majority countries, some of them, he was called xenophobic. Right. There's such a double standard here.
Donna, what do you make of the hypocrisy, to Shay's point, about Trump can't ban travel, but Biden bans it for kind of obscure, unfamiliar reasons?
You know, it's the one thing you can count on is whatever they accuse Trump of, they're doing. Right. Every time. And every narrative is who you're going to believe, me or your lying eyes. Everything that they do is based upon, everything that they accuse you of is based upon what they're doing. And all of these, the media and these fact checkers and all these tech industries are all designed to protect this one guy who's incompetent. I mean, we're watching real-time Rome, the destruction of Rome, the fall of Rome. And this guy can just get away with everything. And I think the American people realize and they see that they're not as dumb as the media thinks they are.
Right. It's interesting because I don't know. They haven't really explained why they're issuing the travel ban. I know they said it, but it doesn't really seem to make a lot of sense.
Make sense.
Yeah.
There's, as far as we know, as of yesterday, there's one case of the Omicron variant here in the U.S. with very mild symptoms. I believe it's out in California, and this person's not hospitalized.
So can we ban travel from California to the rest?
That's an
Sorry,
idea.
just joking. I have family in California. I love California.
Me too. So that's
This is about poll numbers. Poll numbers are still declining, and so we have to get more fear, and we have to fear the dark-skinned people that's not going to vote for him, but not the legal immigrants coming over from Mexico that will vote for him. That's all it is.
Longtime Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey stepped down this week and was replaced by this guy. This is the guy who's going to be in charge of deciding what speech is allowed on Twitter. Jim.
Well, I mean, what do you expect from Twitter? I mean, this is what you expect. I mean, let's just start with the fact that Twitter is this like mindless garbage heap of anger and umbrage and people trying to one-up each other with these angry emotions and things. It doesn't really serve a useful purpose.
Right. It's not even fun anymore. It's just kind of all garbage.
Not at all. And the second thing to know is that, and several studies have shown this recently, 90% of the tweets come from 10% of the people who actually use Twitter. And of that 10%, almost all of them are ultra left-wing radicals of some type. And so Twitter has just become that. And you're not going to say like this thing, we have to distinguish between, white people and racists, what have you. You're not going to get banned for that on Twitter. You can say anything you want from that extreme on Twitter, and they're A-okay with it. But if you try to, say something from the right, like, I think maybe we should have more reasonable tax rates or something. Like, anything. It's like, well, you're banned. Or
say the First Amendment is alive and well, and I have the right to free speech.
Yes, things like that.
Can't say that.
Or, or excerpts from the Declaration of Independence, and those get banned. But it's just, that's the way Twitter is. Now, of course, they can have anybody in charge of Twitter that they want. It's a private company. They can do anything they want.
Is it? I mean, that's the question in some of these cases
well,
right now, right?
The common carrier and that,
but that they're government actors. If they're acting on behalf of the government in any way, which we've seen a lot of coordination between Twitter and the government on censorship and on election issues and.
Oh, for sure, yeah, and that's the leverage that they use to try to keep other political actors they don't want off of Twitter.
Yeah.
But. It is what it is. I think the best solution to this is for people to just ignore it. If everybody ignored it, it would go away.
I think you might be right. Chris, what do you think about Twitter and about Jack Dorsey stepping down?
Yeah, there will be a 12-step recovery program for Twitter users. It's coming.
Do you think Jack Dorsey actually just stepped down? Like, to me, it's just kind of weird. Yeah, like, is there more there, or is it just, no, he actually just stepped down?
It's its own little freakish subculture of, the in-the-know people from Silicon Valley. About 99.9% of America just doesn't give a damn. I mean, Jack Dorsey can do whatever he wants, and this maniac with his racist, xenophobic commentary.
Yeah. Well, he's obviously
I mean,
racist.
in the end, when we go through the annals of history, how will this count? It will not even serve as a footnote.
All right, very good. When we come back from the break, we'll discuss the shooting in Michigan and Biden's latest big lie. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.